Baby, hello, nakupenda sana. Hello, mama, hello, wapi baby, mapenzi tamu. Hello, nakutaka sana. Oh, mama, oh, mama.
Asante sana, asante, and thank you for joining us for another classic episode of the Weekend Edition. I'm your host, Dr. Kingori. Before we even start the show, there are things we get away. There are a lot of things we get away with as Kenyans just because our neighbors don't have internet. Kuna vitu si uchoma just because our neighbors can't see. There's this video that people have been passing around. I really hope we can stop before Tanzanians actually know what we are doing. There's this video ya Zuchu, sauti yake ikipotea kwa stage akiperform, and Kenyans were laughing at her. Surely, where is the joke in this? Me hypocrisy ya hii country hii unishangaza sana. How can we laugh at Zuchu for singing like that? We all know that ukisikiza hiyo clip, Zuchu singing at her worst, ndio vile Ringtone sings at his best. The same na Bahati. Where do we get the audacity ya kukriticize hiyo clip? And I think people are not in a good mood this week kwa sababu also Kabiwa Jesus innocently kwa kanisa alienda kutoa ushuhuda ya the days before he met Jesus. It's a testimony. Ni ushuhuda.
And so many of you are like, hey, this was not an issue. She's not the first one. I have slept with so many others. What are you talking about? Mwenye alipata mimba sasa ndio sasa hapo. Huyu ndio mnajua, otherwise. Praise the Lord.
It must be very difficult kukua kazini wa kabisa hii because haters wamechukua hiyo clip na capitalize on everything. People were uncontainable. Hii ni ushuhuda mtu anatoa. Haters pande moja, kwa family gathering, Kabia kuwa anakula githeri peke yake, alikuwa na focus na minji. Tena kwani basi definition kwa Kabi wa Jesus, definition ya girlfriend ni relative. How do you introduce yourself? Huyu ni kazini yetu ama ni ex? People, calm down. Maze, watu encouragewa, tubu dhambi zako. Mtu akitubu, mambo ya kitambo, amumwachi nafasi hata kidogo. Now, when I say people are not in a good mood this week, Caroline Mutoko, the radio queen, anaitwa radio queen, was on the spot sababu ya kusema matatus should not be on the expressway. And she defended her point. Na, but mimi nazarudi pande ya, I don't think there's a question here why a matatu would be on the expressway, because when you think about it, the expressway is a legal way to overlap for matatus. Like matatu ukiwapatia njaro ya kuhepa jam, they will definitely take it. In fact, the expressway ni advantage for matatus because that way unalipa serikali mara moja. Huku chini mahali unapita, unaweza patana na serikali anywhere na unaweza lipa even more than you think. So ni sijui inaitwa economies of scale ama ni hesabu ya pesa. But then when you think about it, Caroline Motoko was coming from a point of people overspeeding on the expressway. So when you stop to think about a matatu overspeeding on the expressway ndio inaleta hii noma yote, then you start looking at the traffic jams as a safety feature on Kenyan roads. A safety feature. Kwa sababu kwa jam usikiangi mostly ngori kama hizi. Kwa hivyo jam ndio njaro ya kutuliza matatu. So ukiwa kwa jam, it's for your own safety. Interesting point. Alafu by the way, when you think about it, vile matatu overlap, wale wakigundua tu expressway vizuri, it's cheaper. Kwa sababu unajua matatu ya Kayole Jogoro dikishika wao upitia Rwanda ndio warudi watoke Tao. So much, and people maze calm down. Najua sira ni mbaya, najua watu wameambiwa sijui mtafute kitu kingine, mko na pressure ya kutafuta kitu kingine ya kureplace ugali. Too much work and too much to talk about. But will allow us to hold that for a bit because our episode today is a special episode. Misema some of the greatest episodes we've done, some of the areas we've been one of the area we've been very passionate about as a show, as the Wicked Edition, ni kutafuta opportunities za vile wasee wanaweza make do na vile tunaweza deal na unemployment by sharing ideas, and the Wicked Edition has been that platform. So anytime tunapata idea yenye tunaweza kimbia nayo as far as opportunities are concerned, atulalangi daro. So I was speaking to a friend, he's a former Youth Fund CEO, na akakuja akakuwa chairman, Gor Semelango, akasema unemployment is an asset. Na vile alini explain how the concept work, I was curious. Mtu akiuliza maze kukosa job ni asset aje? I was very curious. So I started digging deep. I was fixing to set up an interview with him, but in the process we also landed on someone who's also very passionate about wasee ku make do na wasee kutafuta opportunities na kufix njaro za kumake a living. Kuna kitu inaitwa labor export, and when we started talking about the conversation ya wasee kwenda kutafuta job majuu, so kuna kitu inaitwa structured labor export, vile wasee wanaenda majuu and how much it would mean kumake do. Mimi nikisema hivyo ina sound a very layman explanation ya working abroad. Now we've done that topic a few times na different angles, kwa sababu anything vile nimesema ina sound kama opportunity, hatuachangi ilale. So we are very privileged and honored to have the Director General wa Kenya National Qualifications Authority, and nimeipiga naye story ya labor export, wasi kwenda kufanya kazi majuu, and he has ideas that you don't wanna miss.
If you go to Dubai today,
yes,
wewe mwenyewe utafute tu do zako, uende ukaa hapo ukitafuta jobu na uko na makaratasi,
yes,
the longest time you'll tarmac is 2 months.
The longest time.
And if you look at the world, wait, like last year, I think I was involved in this process where our nurses 5,000, the Kenya government, ilikuwa merawana na British government, ya kwamba 5,000 nurses, and they will go every year until they reach 30,000, can go and work in the UK. But you see, we are not proactive. Sasa hawa ndio wametuuliza tunataka nurses. But tungekuwa proactive, sisi wenyewe tukiangalia Australia inataka nini. Tuko na team. Wanataka nini? Accountants, wanataka doctors, wanataka plumbers, Jordan, because part of what you need when we structure this thing well is that we have to have a team that says what is this country, kama ni Jordan, wanataka nani? And then we come back and locally tumeangalia pia wao watu wenye wana kazi, wamesoma na wanatafuta kazi, ni area gani tunaweza export, si ndio?
Yes.
And then when you want to export also labor, unajua kama umetrainia mtu market ya Kenya.
Yes.
Huyo mtu uwezi kuexport yeye rahisi.
Yes.
That is why ukiona wengi ambao wanatoka Kenya wanaenda ngambo ni domestic workers. And yet if you go to India and the Philippines, they also export a lot of people to the Middle East. They export plumbers, electricians, mechanics, truck drivers. So the thing I'm trying to say is that once you focus on exporting your labor, then you go to the source of the labor. Naulize, wewe unataka plumber aina gani? The plumber we are producing here may not be able to function in those markets. Which mechanic, what skills should they have? So remember, there are two things also when you want to do labor migration. There's the technical skills. And these technical skills, whether it's a plumber or a mechanic or a driver, must meet minimum international standard. Alafu, tuna the social part. Unajua sasa wewe kutoka hapa kuingiana nje ya Mwarabu na uanza kufunction hapo, so you can be a first class degree, but ukiingia kwa hii environment, remember the environment is also important. You may not be able to function. So as a country, tunataka kujiuliza, tukitaka kupeleka mechanic Dubai, tunahitaji mechanic tumtrain namna gani? So now we stop training for ourselves and start training for that other country.
Okay.
So we don't just do our standard, we also get their standard. We even get them to come to help us to actually develop a program, a curriculum, a training program that will meet their needs.
Then
yes,
this should be done even hapo kwa kwa Waarabu siko sure kama you need more training other than kulea ndevu. Of course kama unajua kama unajua, and I don't know, you're very vast, your knowledge in the education sector is vast. So my question would be, why can't we basi approach unemployment from that perspective? Like when you have people training in TVET institution, instead of training for the Kenyan market, we incorporate in the curriculum select countries where people can work in. So this becomes something that is, as in, kama the times where people could be booked wakiwa wanasoma tayari, right?
Yes.
I understand that there was such a time.
Yes.
Like, we have X number of people graduating, they will be absorbed in this company. You look for jobs for people while still they are learning.
Yes, you see what, wacha turudi chini, let me simplify it. We grow tea and coffee.
Yes.
Remember, not all the coffee and tea that we grow can be exported. Tuna ile class inakuwa exported. So if you go to Europe, there is a standard of coffee that can access that market. There is a standard, hata hii nyama, tukitaka kuuza meat, if you want to export to the EU, for example, they have a standard ya nyama. So not all the meat that you do in Decorate Corner or KMC will go to the European market. So they have a standard. So ukitaka ku-export labor, pia tuna standard. So huyu mtu mwenye umetrain Kenya kwa TVET hawezi toka hapa leo na aende Belgium na function kama electrician, because the standard of wiring, electrical working is completely different. No. So we must start. It is like when you are producing, let me put it the other way down. When you are a business person and you want to produce a product to sell in the market, you do what we call a feasibility study. Unauliza hii market inataka product inakaa namna gani? How do I even package it for this market? So if you want to export labor, you start there. If I want to bring labor to Australia,
Yes.
what kind of accountant, what is the accounting system? What is the standard of training accountants in Australia? So tunachukua hiyo standard, alafu tunarudi hapa Kenya, tunakaa na CASNEB, tunaulizana hii standard yenu ni ya Kenya. Kama tunataka kupeleka 50 accountants to Australia, this is the standard. So today what is happening? A Kenyan goes to Australia, he was trained on the Kenyan standard. Akipewa kazi, what we are seeing now is some of them take 3 to 5 years. Reorientation, transformation, reforming. Do you catch ushike laini ya hiyo system? So it's very wasteful, and so that's what is happening. So if you really want to, if you see the irony is this: we are producing for the Kenyan market. The Kenyan market is full, and we continue producing for the same Kenyan market, and yet there is a market that is looking for these people, and we are not bothered to understand what are they looking for. Ni kama ndugu umeenda vita na nimekupea risasi na unapiga hii risasi ulikuwa nayo 50 imeisha na umemiss target na bado unaendelea kupiga risasi. So unasimama ulize mwisho utatupa hata punduki. So hapo ndio tuna, yes,
that's where the gap is.
So the gap is there. So the need for these people is there. But as a country, let me know. So what do we need to export labor?
Yo, wadau, our conversation with Dr. Juma Mukhwana continues after this short commercial break. See you guys in a bit. Wazi. Asante sana. Welcome back to the Wicked Edition. I'm your host, Dr. Kingori. Our conversation today is a very curious one and a very interesting one, and I say that in with all the confidence I can gather, because one of the deadliest statement I had this week was how much of an asset unemployment is. This idea, I cannot claim full credit. I borrowed this idea from a conversation we had with one of actually the former Youth Fund CEO, Gord Semelango, and he explained to me in details how this country can make money from nyinyi kukosa job. So sengine labda mmekosa job juu gava itaki pesa mingi. So to help us navigate this conversation, I reached out to Dr. Juma Mukhwana, who is the Director General of Kenya National Qualifications Authority. Now, I reached out to him because I know how passionate he is about maneno ya kutafuta job na labor export.
Hapa Kenya, we have many young people, wamemaliza college, wamemaliza university, they have no jobs. But ukienda nchi zingine, the development that they have ni kwamba wanahitaji watu. If you look at even Canada today, Australia, if you look at the Middle East, Jordan, United Arab Emirates. Nchi yao vile iko mafuta na vile wanaendelea ni kwamba wana nafasi nyingi ya vijana na wazee kuenda kutwanga job huko. Lakini sasa so that's where the opportunities. We have a few people wenye wana struggle kivyao. Ya wameenda. As we talk today, we nearly have, according to statistics hapa, 500,000, half a million people of Kenyans live outside the country already. But hao ni wazee wale walijitafutia njia zao za kuenda huko. So and nobody says, and I think this is where we get it wrong, that kwa sababu mimi nilizaliwa Kenya, nitaoa Kenya, lazima nifanye kazi Kenya. You see, hii dunia vile Mungu aliumba ni yetu sisi wote. Really, we all belong to everywhere. But we have this idea, ninazaliwa hapa, nasoma hapa, naoa hapa, harusi yangu ni hapa, alafu na siku hapo, unaona? Si tuko na miguu.
Tuko na miguu, na hata napenda hiyo point yako ya kuoa sana, because having watched soaps, I think I can migrate to the Philippines. But endelea.
Yes, ukiangalia sasa kama Philippines, hizi nchi za Southeast Asia, the Philippines today has 10 million Filipinos working outside the country, bringing in 2 trillion Kenya shillings in a year. That's a half of our budget, brought in by 10 million Filipinos that work outside the country. So you can imagine 10 million people, that is like 20% of Kenya's population. We are about 50 million, bringing in half of our budget in foreign currency. That's the other most important part, because na sisi hapa unajua vile tuliwaachiwa inji na wazungu, foreign currency tunatafuta kwa nini? Kwa kahawa, kwa machani, si ndio? You export tea. So we spend a lot of time trying to produce coffee and produce tea. But how much does it bring? Nimesema wazee tuna Wakenya ambao wameenda nje kivyao. Today they are bringing to Kenya 32 billion a month. Hii kahawa na machani
500,000 Kenyans.
Yes.
500,000 Kenyans.
Yes.
Bring in 32
billion every month.
32 billion every month.
Yes. And if you multiply that, that is like 400, almost 400 billion a year. Something like that. Hii machani na kahawa ambayo tunangangana sana. Tumejenga factory, tumeandika extension officer, tuna coffee act, tuna nini. Ndugu yangu kwa mwaka ikileta 40 billion, umejaribu sana. So you can see that ukiangalia vile tunakaa, priorities zetu, kama hii inaleta 32 billion in a month, na hii ingine inaleta 40 billion in a year, so kwa mwaka kwa mwezi ni 3 billion, ndio? Kahawa ama machani. Na hiyo ndio tunasema inaleta foreign exchange earners, ndio? So you can see that exporting people in a structured way, in a respectable and dignified way. Hatutaki, and that's I think what we will be discussing, will bring us more money. It will bring opportunities to the country, but it will also bring opportunities to the young people.
Of course, it has to be.
So it's a win-win situation.
It has to be respectable and structured, because nikoshua midguna tumangi do home. People have to go nicely. People have to go nicely.
Nicely, yes. So what do we need to export labor? We need 3 critical things. 1, we need a national policy. The way we have a policy for coffee, and a policy for tea, and a policy for... So you need a national policy on structured labor export. How will it...
Which we don't have
Which we don't have. How will it function? I know we have the National Employment Authority, which is an attempt to try and do that. So you need a policy. 2, you need a regulatory framework. Ya kwamba, in this structured labor export, who are the players? To the Ministry of Education, that is producing the people, to the Ministry of Labor, to the National Employment. What is their role in preparing these people for that export market? For example, tunao watu wanajiita agents, wenye wanachukua watu, wanaweka ficha kwa room, they are preparing them, so they train them, they even take money from them, even prepare for you passports and even visas for you to go. So those kind of people, how do we regulate them? What is their role? So we identify, so the regulatory environment. Alafu, huko, ukifika huko, the way Philippines has done it, tuna watu wataenda, watachukua miezi 2-3, ndio wapate kazi. Unaishi wapi? So if you go to Philippines, in each country, they have even hired space. Ukifika huko, as you are being orientated on how to tarmac and even link to the right place, tuna bahali utaishi, utakula, utaoga, you know what I mean. Ukipata employer na upate shida na yeye, tuna bahali unaweza retreat. Sio kutorokea airport mpaka umenyang'anywa. So hata hii vitu ya kunyang'anywa passport. You see the reason why tunanyang'anywa passport ni kwa nini? Kwa sababu sisi hatuna polisi. So what happens, huyu agent wetu wa Kenya ako na agent, wacha tuseme Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia tuna ule mtu anasema, anatembea anasema tunataka 300 domestic workers. So anaambia huyu wa Kenya. Huyu wa Kenya anatafuta domestic workers au 300. But sasa huyu akipata hawa watu 300 hawana passport, hawana air ticket, hawana insurance, si ndio? So what's happening today is that yule agent wa Saudi Arabia anakuja kwako. Anasema unataka maid, leta pesa. So the person who is looking for the employee now pays the agent. So I pay you 100,000. Atarudisha namna gani? Anasema sasa ukipata huyo maid utatoa kwa mshahara yako. Sasa hiyo 100 ndio wanagawana, wanapea agent wa Kenya. Agent wa Kenya anakutafuta wewe, anakuambia sasa nitakusaidia kupata passport, kupata visa, kukutrain vile utafanya hii kazi, si ndio? So wewe hujatoka hapa, mtu amekulipia. And that is where and now you see, by huyo mtu kukulipia, he has taken away your power to negotiate. Si nimeshalipa?
Yes.
So nipe mtu ama nini? Lakini tungekuwa na system where sisi wenyewe sasa hiyo fund tulisema wale watu wako huko nje tungechukua hata 1% tuweke kwa kiti. Tuseme this is the fund that we will use to fund people to go outside. So sisi kama Kenya tuna embassy in Saudi Arabia. Kwa nini hiyo embassy haiwezi kusema sasa sisi tuko na watu, tuna electricians, lakini sisi kama Kenya government hii watu wanafanya nje they contribute some money, we build a kiti, yule anataka kuenda tunamsaidia, we can support them up to 100,000 ya kwamba akifika huko yeye pia ana contribute kwa hii kiti. So saa hii the way we are doing it is the demand that is paying, the supplier sisi tunapata. So kama mimi nimelipia mtu na nimengoja akuje na acha tuseme nilipa 100. Part of what they have done in the Philippines, for example, if you are going to the Middle East, there is a school for preparing people going to the Middle East. If you are going to Europe, there's a school that prepares you. This is the European culture of work, the work ethics. How do you operate in Canada, for example? If you look at Canada, for example, there's lots of opportunities.
And we have embassies in all these
all these places, but we have not empowered them. And also because if you have not developed the system, unajua hii ni kama baiskeli hujatengeneza haijakuwa tayari. Sasa ukiniambia niende na how do I even do it as an ambassador in Canada? So
okay.
so that's where we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sawa. And Kenyans are not demanding. Hata ukisema ati Philippines wanakupea mahali pa kulala, kukula na kuoga, Kenyans we don't need all that. Tunaweza hitaji pa kukula na pa kulala, but kuoga from the men's conference the standard time was ilikuwa twice a month. Ama public holidays, as in it's not at that much. Si tunataka tu Madaraka Day na Jamhuri, si ndio? So is it accurate to say that if there are that many opportunities outside the country, people are unemployed because we do not have a policy and leaders who can follow through with such ideas? In this case, in this sense, that I think it's also accurate to say that if some of our leaders will put politics aside, they will stop promising jobs out of the thin air and promise to negotiate for opportunities. Because it's funny how, like I think in London, Juicy, they were talking of a shortage of truck drivers. A shortage.
Yes.
And we have people here, I saw a story on NTV, we have truck drivers who've vast experience, wanasema hawajakuwa na job since COVID.
In fact, that's why I said the first issue we need is the policy. The next issue we needed was a regulatory environment. The third issue yenye sikusema ni negotiated labor agreements. So proactive. So ukitaka hii system ifanye, ukuwe na policy, ukuwe na regulatory environment ya kuregulate kila mtu mwenye ako kwa hiyo system. And then the third one, you now have a system that is an intelligent system. Okay. That is saying today in Belgium, this is what they're looking for. And Kenya can supply it.
Asante sana. And wapi makofi ya Dr. Juma? Alafu sio maneno yangu, Dr. Juma amesema sio lazima juu ulizaliwa Kenya uoe Kenya. Wapi makofi ya Dr. Juma? Asante sana for the insights. I believe that goes a long way and you've explained it very well. No may break down for us. We thank you very much for coming to our show. We hope to invite you tena na tena. Mtu akitupatia vibes za nguvu, they always come back.
Mimi kwa mambo ya wazee,
yes,
niko very passionate. Na nafikiri tukifanya kazi pamoja, yes, tutapata suluhisho.
Asante.
Ya kwamba kila mtu apate kazi. Ile anaweza fanya, yes, na tulishe watoto.
Okay.
Na tufae vizuri. Na tuoge at least twice a week.
So, but that should be discussed again in the men's conference. We can't just change.
Wazee walisema.
Wazee walisema. And the dates are set. Public holidays na special Sundays. Asante sana.
Thank you.
Asante. Jipigeni makofi pia studio. Also a special thank you to the team that makes this possible behind the scenes. D, thank you for the sacrifice. Na kila mtu wako behind the scenes. Deno pia for the organizations you make. And the team behind the scenes, Tom na Faiza. Asante sana. That's it for the weekend edition. See you next week. My name is Dr. Kingori.